We never grow onions to store for winter. The type of onion that we grow is best suited or best eaten as a young spring green onion. And once those begin coming in, we eat them pretty much every day, but we never manage to eat all of them. And so by this time of the year, this is late July, the tops begin to die back and the bulb is too large to eat just as a spring green onion. So we harvest them and pull them up, and then Matt will tie them up and string them up. We'll hang them on the front porch and let them dry for several weeks or several months, depending on how long I forget they're there. And then once they're completely dried, I will cut the tops off, we'll clean the rest of the dirt off, and then I'll just store them inside the house in my cabinet where I normally store potatoes and onions, and use them. That will by no means make it through the winter, but it's kind of like waste not, want not. The variety that we grow is not really for long-term storage, but we've found a way just to use them. Even though they're on the small side, they're still definitely edible after they dry. In Appalachia foodways, onion plays a huge role. It's used in all kinds of ways, but one of the most interesting ways in Appalachia is those spring green onions I was talking about. A lot of people will sprinkle out a little mound of salt, and then they will dip their green onion in that salt as they eat it. So maybe they're eating dinner or they're eating supper and they're having a green onion. Well, they'll take a bite, dip it in the salt, take a bite of something else, dip that onion in the salt again, and that's how it's eaten. I grew up in a family where green onions were eaten like that, and I still eat mine like that today. If I'm eating a green onion with supper, I sprinkle some salt on the edge of my plate and I dip that onion in salt as I eat it. Onions were also used in Appalachia in medicinal ways. My big grandma, she died when I was 5 years old. She was my great grandmother, so I don't have very many memories about her. But Granny, my mother, told me that big grandma ate an onion every day. She believed onions were the key to being healthy, and she made sure that she ate one every day. Onions were also used as a poultice, so they would cook down onions and maybe add herbs or spices or something with them, and then they would pack that on someone's chest who had congestion, and that would draw out the congestion in their chest. So they were used in a medicinal way as well. Now, if you hear, sometimes you might hear someone from Appalachia say the word onion, and you may think it sounds kind of funny, which you may think I sound kind of funny because I have such a strong accent. But I've often heard folks in my area of Appalachia, older folks mostly, that instead of saying onion, they say ungen, ungen. So I looked in my dictionary of Smoky Mountain English to see if that usage was documented, and it is, and other varieties, variations of that same word. In some areas they added an R, so it's more like ungern or ingern. I can't even say that because I've never heard anyone say it. But another interesting entry in the Dictionary of Smoky Mountain English was Jacob's onions. So that was documented in 1975 in Madison County, North Carolina. And by the entry, it sounds exactly like it's describing a green onion, like I was talking about just a moment ago. And the person in the quote says that the reason they think it was called Jacob's onions is because it was so prolific. And that was the only thing they could think of for it being given that name, Jacob's onions. But as we were harvesting these onions on Saturday, I remembered a story that Pap told me that was really humorous. So in the South and in Appalachia, where it is the Bible Belt and lots of churches and that kind of thing, you'll hear lots of jokes about preachers and about them getting to eat Sunday dinner, and maybe they love chicken, and just various teasing, joking manners about preachers liking to eat. So Pap says one time this man told him that his church got a new preacher, new pastor, and it didn't take the church long to find out that that preacher could really eat. When he went home with you for Sunday dinner, he pretty much cleaned off the table. It was gone. He ate it all. But everyone in the church knew that eventually it'd be their turn to take the preacher home for Sunday dinner at their house. So one man, I don't know, maybe he was rebellious, or maybe he just wanted to show the preacher, he ought to cut back on his appetite or what, but he had it all laid up for the preacher when he come to his house for Sunday dinner. So they got there and they sat down to eat, and the man told the preacher, said, "We don't have much, but everything we have is yours. Today we're having onions and salt for dinner." And the preacher said, "Well, I don't like onions." And the man said, "Well, then help yourself to the salt."